Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the Cloud-Based Mayhem. This is your host, Gavin McClurg. We're doing another walk and fly down memory lane, this time with Gaspard Petiot. He and I both were rookies in 2015. He competed again in 2017 and 2019. So had three great events. In 2017, he was actually leading for a pretty short stint, but he was out in front of Kriegel, day 6 into the race, and then unfortunately broke his wrist. But as with all the others, there's some great stories here, a lot of laughs, and we had a lot of fun with this one. And tiny bit of housekeeping in this one is that my book, Advanced Paragliding, is now available in an e-format. So it's available on Kobo, Google Books, Kindle, and you can get it through xemag.com/shop. You'll find it there. The book is in 3 different volumes. They're $10 a piece, so cheaper than the real book, and you can take it with you wherever you go. If you've been wanting to read Advanced Paragliding, or if you just want to have it on your phone, then that's the way to do it. Again, xemag.com/shop. Huge thanks to the cross-country team for making this all happen. Please enjoy this walk and fly down memory lane with Gaspard Petiot. I think he was France. Oh, so many French. I think he was France too. But anyway, incredible pilot, really fun human being, and we'll enjoy it. Cheers. Gaspard, awesome to have you on the show, my friend. It's like we were talking about before we started recording. It's been a minute. I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to? Before we get into the X-Alps stories, what's life been like since the last I saw you in 2019?
Well, it's been I had more time to do some things I wanted to do, some things I wanted to try. I spent a lot of time, 3 years sailing, and also taking more time with my girls, because my girls are growing now. They're 11 and 12, so they can practice sport with me now, and it's different story, but it's fun.
Do they fly?
Not alone yet, but we usually we fly the 3 of us on the tandem, and we do a lot of small adventures like rock climbing, and then we take off from the summit, or we can cross-country ski and then fly together. We do like small adventures all together. It's
neat.
fun.
And you did a big trip last year to the States, right? Where all did you go?
No, not 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I've been to...
is it that long ago now? Jeez.
I went to Canada, and I've
right.
done a great trip over there, and I flew a lot, but we also hiked a lot with the girls. We saw a bunch of animals, and we traveled. It was really fun.
Did you get a van? Did you get kind of an RV and cruise around?
Actually, I was not really good at preparing the stuff. I rented a big car, but when I got to the airport, they gave me like a sport car, like really like a Mustang racing car. So we traveled with this sport car. But it was fun though. We went all the way through Canada with this, and we had a bike on it. So on the carbon, it was a carbon design, sport car, but we put the bike on it, and then a paraglider bag and every kind of stuff over it. It was fun.
And the sailing, where did you go? 3 years. Were you sailing around the world? Were you keeping it more local? What were you doing?
When I ended 2019, I was kind of tired. Paragliding was all my life for 10 years, and I wanted to try some sailing. So I have a lake just near my house, so I started competition sailing on a small A-class catamaran, like a race boat. And then at the same time, I had a friend who was sailing like long distance races on the ocean and on the Mediterranean. So I've sailed with him for several races, like a tandem. They're like 6 or 7 days races long distance, and also my brother, a really good paragliding pilot that helped me for the 3 X-Alps. He traveled from France to crossing the Atlantics and then back. So I had the opportunity to fly a bit with him. So it was,
Cool.
I made a lot of sailing and it was fun.
This is an interesting thing that so many of us are sailors. What do you think? Damien Lacaze was doing a big one this last year with his family. Tom Ladorlado has obviously done a lot of sailing. Paul just bought his boat. He's planning on doing a bunch of sailing with his family, and there are others. What do you think the connection there is? There's a lot of, I get the kite surfing and the foiling. That's very flowy sport like paragliding is, but sailing was something I got into sailing way before I got into flying. I was a sailor for a long time, but it's an interesting connection.
Yes, I think the main connection for the four of us that you've stated before is that the main difference between sailing and paragliding is that you can bring your family with you. And in a paraglider, it's not that easy. So it's easy to share an adventure. You can bring a lot of gear. You can go on beautiful places, and you can share the idea of traveling with the elements, but together as a family, and that's the main difference, I think.
Is this something you'd take on as a big family endeavor in the future? Would you go, offshore, or maybe do a circumnavigation, or live on a boat for a period of time?
I guess not, because after 3 years of sailing, I decided to stop a little bit for two main reasons. The first one is that it's very complicated to sail. It's very expensive. It's a lot of gear, a lot of repairs, a lot of logistic, and I don't really like it. I mean, that much. The second reason is that my wife is not really fond of it. So that's
a big one.
the main problem. So we usually I think we will continue to sail like I don't know, several weeks per year, but I don't think we will travel long distance, I mean long periods, because she's not fond of it. So forget it. She's more into climbing summits and light climbing and fast climbing.
Alpine climbing. Okay, and you are as well?
Yes, before paragliding, I was an alpine guide. So I was into rock climbing and mountaineering, and I'm kind of coming back to this because I really like it, and my children loves it too. So we're starting to climb again and ski again, and of course paragliding, but we do many things, and that's fun.
In my mind, you're always, you've proven in your 3 X-Alps campaigns, because of your knees, you've got worse knees than I do. And, I've always tried to be patient with you on the ground, but there are times when we've been together on the trail, not many, you're usually out in front of me, but where I can't, I got to leave them. I can't go that slow. And yet you just do so well in the race. And that's, you've proven your flying capability. You've told me privately that a lot of that's your brother. He's very good at kind of routing you through the sky when he's on the ground, and kind of helping you out with ideas and stuff, which we'll talk about. But you're not someone that I see, really chasing the World Cups and all that stuff. Where does is it talent? Is it because you are so dedicated privately? Where does it come from? And that's a hot seat question, but
I think it comes from the fact that I didn't have a lot of time to train, and I had my way of training was a family training. I was always we usually spend the summer with my whole family, and my wife is she bikes because she practiced triathlon. So in the morning she would bike to a path in the Alps, and then we would have lunch with the kids at this path, and I would have to take off there because I had no choice. I mean, the only way to fly was to take off on any path, it's not the kind of flying where you're free. So it's really similar to the X-Alps in a way that you don't really choose your takeoff, and you have a really accurate timing to fly, because we had to meet at 4 o'clock for switching with the kids at the lake. So you have to take off on a special place, and you have to land on a special place at the exact time. So you can go wherever you want, and sometimes I would go on really ugly places, but I knew I had to come back and on a certain timing, and it taught me this idea of make it whatever happens, and this idea of being able to respect a certain timing. And this is really helpful later. It helped me a lot, because at the X-Alps it's exactly the same. You don't really choose the takeoff, and you need to be on that exact ridge at this timing, because if not, I mean, the sun won't be at that time, or the valley wind will be too strong, or it's I think this this way of flying that taught me day after day this timing stuff, and this and it also taught me that it's not going fast. Going fast is not about pushing fast. It's most of the time going fast is about thinking and taking time when you need to go up to the terminal, to the top of the terminal, because this one is really important, and glide really well on that one, because this one is really important. But maybe the next 40 Ks you can push hard, because it's not really, I mean, it won't bother, it won't make difference. And then, well, all this thinking about being at the right time at the right moment, this is what really helpful for me, I think, because I'm not I've paraglide, I've also practiced Walker paragliding just for fun, but I'm not really good at it, because it's about flying with others, flying in groups, and I'm not really used to it. I'm really used to flying alone on dirty places.
Dirty places, I like that. And where is home?
This is another really important question, because I moved several towns lately, and so I had the opportunity to fly on different area and different spots. I have lived in the really high mountains. I've lived on the pre-Alps. I've lived on the north of the Alps, south of the Alps. So I've met really different kind of style and different kind of conditions, and this helps too. And now I live in Aix-les-Bains, which is a town between Annecy and Grenoble. It's just near Annecy on the south part on the lake, and it's a soft kind of flying, because it's pre-Alps. It's not in the high range.
Had you done other hike and fly races before the 2015 race?
Yes, this is a really important question, because I learned many things in for the X-Alps, practicing races before X-Alps. I've done a really interesting race that is called Air Tour. That is a race near Grenoble, and it helped me understand all the tricks, all the mistakes that you can do. And this is why I probably didn't make that much mistakes in the X-Alps.
You said before we started recording, again, before we kind of rewind the clock here, but you said before we started recording that each of your three races, 2015, 2017, 2019, which you had great results in all three, were very different. What did you mean by that?
Well, on the first X-Alps, I was here to discover. I was here to fly a lot, but I was not expecting any results. My only goal was to reach Monaco and do the best I could. It worked really well, and we had a tremendous experience. But it was not about a race. On the second X-Alp on 2017, it was totally different. The idea was to be efficient and to fight with the best. So the idea was to fight in the front. And so I was more accurate, more prepared. I had a really fast wing and really powerful wing, and yes, I had prepared everything to be fighting with the first top leaders. And since in 2017 I ended injured at the end of this race, I didn't know if I would come back. I was kind of I knew that after this race I couldn't do much better than that. It was hard to beat the best of the race. And I came back in 2019 to end this experience with a race that I would control, that I would be proud of, a race that would bring me to Monaco the last time, and in the right way, and not I was not. I knew I was not the best pilot, but I wanted to do things properly, and I wanted to reach Monaco the last time before saying goodbye to this marvelous adventure.
So you knew going into 29, and I remember you telling me this before the race, that was going to be your last.
Yes, for me, I've never thought about doing X-Alps more than 2 or 3 times, um, because I didn't want I wanted to be a full-time investment. I wanted to be fully into it, and I know that I know myself, if it's the project is a really long time project, probably my level would not be strong all the time. I'm not committed like Krigel. I have plenty of other things that I want to do. My girls need me also for other things, so I knew I had few opportunities, and I wanted them to be really really strong. But still, in 2021 it was hard for me not to apply.
I imagine, I didn't apply this year, and I'm starting to get I'm curious, your girls, if I have the math right, were kind of 4, 5, 6, somewhere right in there for the first one. My little girl's 5 now, and that was a big part of my decision to not compete this year, and other things, 50, the race is getting, I mean, back in 2015, we could make mistakes and still, be in there with the top guys. And now I don't find that that's the case. You got to be on, and it's a different race. It's just faster, which is great. That's super exciting. But a big part of it was just the time required. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like you had a more relaxed approach because you had to. It was just practical to spend time with your family. So 2 questions. It seems like that is maybe approach that really helps. I'm sure it would help a lot of people, including myself, to be maybe not take it so seriously and be more relaxed as I was in 2015, because I had no I my only objective there was to not get eliminated. I had no idea, and get to Monaco. Of course, we all have that objective, but I didn't have any expectations, and I think that's a really good thing. But so that's one question, and the other question is, how have things changed for you with your daughters getting older from the 2015 race to the 2019 race as they became adolescents? How did that affect your approach?
Um, well, for sure, during the races, having the girls was always it was always inside your head when you take some risks, and especially when you fly against the wind. So you have to think about it, and then sometimes you're angry about yourself because you've taken risky decisions. So it's kind of there's like a voice telling you that this is wrong and you should be careful, and then so this is a kind of a small problem that you have to take into account. When they were small, it was easy to train because I could share half day with my wife. She would train in the morning, I would train in the afternoon, and we would switch like this. And I could spend half day with my girls, and it was okay. And the more they grow, the more they want to do things. I mean, they can run, they can hike, they can ski. So they want to share the stuff. They want to do things, and you want to share things with them. I mean, I really enjoy to spend time skiing and to train climbing. So for me, it was clear that the older they would go, the more time I had to give them, and that's why I knew that my window for the X-Alps was quite short.
What are your goals now for paragliding?
My goal in paragliding, I don't have any goal in paragliding. No, I I have to say that for 3 years I didn't fly, almost didn't fly. I totally I made a big break, and now I've sold my boat and I'm starting to fly again. But I'm not expecting. For now, I'm not. I don't have any expectations because I don't have that much time, and maybe later when the girls will go away, I'll probably start again. Probably I'll have some more objectives, some more targets, some more objectives. But now it's not. I have some small ideas, but I mean it's not like huge objectives. But it's not my time. It's their time now. I'm here for them, for the girls.
Good for you. Okay, well, let's go back and relive a little bit. For the 2015 race, each race is dictated by the weather, of course. The 2015 race, the route was the Geisberg, as it always is, down to the Dockstein, which we had an amazing first day. It was very hot, but really good flying. And you and I were out in front, as I recall, and we made it down to the Chiemsee. And then from there, we went to Lermoos and then down to the Brenta and then up to the Matterhorn and then around Mont Blanc and to Annecy. We had some fun flying into and out of Annecy and then down all the way down to Pay, down to Monaco. And 2015 was dominated by wind. We had a lot of heat and big storms early in the season from, heat, lightning, and heavy rain at night from just being so hot, including in the prologue, which I believe 2015 was the first year there was a prologue, and then incredible amount of wind. There was a lot of injuries, a lot of accidents, a lot of withdrawals. It was a very, I think for you and I being rookies, it was a good, wow, this is what this is all about, because you just got used to it and you just kept doing it. But looking back, there was a lot of wind, a lot of lee flying, and a lot of pushing into wind. We mostly had westerlies, and we were heading west, so some pretty dicey stuff. But you and Antoine and Aaron had an amazing battle for fourth down at the end. You were just hanging on to Paul and Kriegel, as I remember, and Sebastian Huber. That was his rookie year, and he really had one. I think he got second, didn't he? So yeah, there's a little recap of how the race was. But you and I had some fun together early, and then you got out front, and I never saw you again. But I see you smiling. What was a highlight from that race, and what was maybe something you would have liked to change?
The highlights, for me, it's like you say, it's weird because on my memories I only keep the good memories.
Isn't that funny? That's why we keep doing it.
But yes, as you said, the wind was really strong, and I remember some landings, really scary landings. I remember one of my worst memory of paragliding was on Simplon path. I was I was thinking as a pilot that if the wind was strong, I could be safe landing on the top of a mountain. I would be safer. So I went on Simplon path, and I made this huge mistake because all the west wind of Switzerland would go in that path, and I was just at the right or the wrong place. I was on the hill, and the wind was just was just pushing me up the mountain like a soaring, but not soaring, but going backward. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna jump over the mountain and scratch myself in Italy over there. And I stayed like fighting against this wind for about 30 minutes, and wondering where I would end this very moment. And yes, for me, this is a really strong souvenir. And this I didn't know what to do. I was pushing the bar and couldn't move, and I was looking, turning my head. I was like, oh no, please, 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 I need help. And I don't know, I had, and this fortunate thermal that came and helped me to get out this place and saved me. Just this was yeah, I had forgotten this moment, but now that you speak about Wien, I can remember the hell I was in. And it was, and I survived this. I survived this, but at this very moment I was really, really scared. And I remember that when I landed, I was like, oh, I love to walk. I love to walk. And I walked all the night, all the afternoon. I walked, and I could probably fly again this day, but I was mentally destroyed. So yes, it was a hard race, and the wind was really strong.
I believe that was probably the day, if you were pushing into the Simplon, that was the day I was back with Tom and Ferdy back trying to get into Bellinzona, and that was when Tom went in the tree and had to be helicoptered out, and the German pilot Michael dropped out of the race, and Toma, I believe that same day was the day that he had the terrible accident that they never published. They never talked about that, but he basically had his face ripped off, landing backwards in really strong wind, and that might have even been the same day Michael Vichy went in the lake.
No, Michael Vichy went to the lake.
That was before.
Because we landed.
That was the day before.
When Michael Vichy landed in the lake, I landed like 500 meters next to him. So we would. I was almost dying. I was flying backward over a wedding feast, and the people saw me like going, like the wind threw me over the wedding, and I landed between two buildings in the middle of a town, and I survived this again. I didn't know how, but which Vichy 500 meters in the front landed in the lake. So yes, I had several memories, and those two were really, really bad. But I had also extraordinary memories. For example, one memory, I was fighting with Aaron, and we were trying to find a clue to cross a special point near Major Lake. I don't remember the name of the place, but we couldn't reach the place because of the breeze, and we didn't know how to do it. And we crossed, and we saw a paraglider, like a beginner, a small red wing, and the wind was shouting at me like, and I was like, oh, this guy is really happy to see us coming from the X-Alps. And I tried to cross this valley by using the right side, and then I was totally destroyed on this my idea was stupid. And then when I came back, I could see this paraglider, and he was shouting at me, and I could hear the voice later, and it was like, follow me. And then he showed us, me and Aaron, he showed us the way. I mean, he was like, I don't know, he was like, he had like a beginner wing, but he showed us the way to cross. And Aaron had done exactly the same mistake, and at the end, this little guy showed us the way to cross. So it's like we had magic memories together with Aaron, because this without this guy, I think we would have landed maybe 10 Ks before or 20 Ks before.
That was down in the Maritimes. That was after Annecy when you're pushing south, I assume.
No, it was before. It was after Bellinzona. I don't remember the place. before coming back north to reach the Swiss Valley.
Ah,
We were fighting against the breeze coming from Lake Major Lake,
okay.
and we didn't know the place at all. And
Lago
this
Maggiore.
Lake Major, yeah,
Okay,
okay,
okay, gotcha. That's right. We had St. Moritz as a turn point, didn't we? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
And
Okay.
and this guy, I mean, he totally changed our race, and it was fun because he was just a normal guy, and I think he enjoyed it. I mean, to share this with us, it was cool
Wow.
memory. But I mean, we have plenty of those memory. I remember fighting with Aaron when we flew over the places I knew really well in the French Alps, and we would share the flight with Aaron and Antoine for 10 hours. The whole day together. We flew over,
Wow.
and it was like magic. We were racing, but it was like a family, like a friend, a friend flight, and it
Wow.
was magic.
I remember sitting on the pass into the west end of the Chamonix Valley, and you guys were all heading up to I believe you all three were together that morning. Maybe one was slightly up at going up to the Brenta, the top of the gondola or the tram there, and getting ready to fly. It was a great day to Annecy, and it was, the forecast was for crazy strong north firn. And I was sitting on the pass. Ferdy didn't even try to fly. He just walked off the pass and walked down into Chamonix. But you guys were going up, and I kept telling Bruce, they see something that we don't. They're going up to fly. It must be okay. And he kept going, I don't know, North Fern and Chamonix and Passy's fine, but in Chamonix it's really dangerous. And I kept saying, no, but the sky looks okay. I think the forecast is wrong. And it was an amazing day. But I think if you guys hadn't been there, I also would have walked. But I kept saying they know something that we don't, Bruce. Let's just sit here and watch. And as soon as you guys took off, I took off, and it worked. It was great.
Yeah,
Sometimes the
sometimes.
forecasts are scary.
Yeah, sometimes you you don't know that it's dangerous, and you take off, and it works.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's because you're stupid, and you don't have the information that you try it and it works. And sometimes you'd better have the information. Once
yeah.
it was funny in this race. I was before before the Brenta, before Madonna di Campiglio. We had a really strong storm. I was before Aaron Durogati, and we hiked to a summit, and we wanted to glide and to fly to Madonna di Campiglio. And we were here, and we had this terrible storm with really strong winds. I was like, we were at the top, and it was windy, and we were waiting and waiting. And then Aaron arrived, and with his supporter, and it was really, really windy. And his supporter, that he's competing this year. His name is
Andra.
Andra,
Yeah.
yeah. And he
Yeah.
told Aaron, okay, let's take off. I mean, I propose you to go down 50 meters down, and we take off. And we're like, those guys are completely crazy. And they start to go down, and we were like, those guys are are gonna kill themselves. And 5 minutes later, they took off, like in totally. I mean, it was
Crazy.
hell. It was crazy, and it worked. I mean, and they took off, and then they directly glided on the lee side of it. I was like, those guys are crazy, and it worked. And I had a lot of French guys that were here to watch the race, and they're like, sometimes we spend. They were usual paragliders, and they say, sometimes we spend 2 hours analyzing the conditions before takeoff. And those guys, they don't care; they just take off.
They just go.
Yeah. Uh,
Aaron, I mean, Andres, obviously with all his acro background, is an amazing pilot. It's going to be interesting to watch him in the race. And I got to
yeah.
see Aaron this year after his exploits in Pakistan this summer, which were extraordinary. He came and did, we have this 3-day hike and fly race here called the Global Rescue X Red Rocks, and man, he's operating at a high level. I mean, he's always been fast up mountains. He's really a gazelle up going uphill. has knee problems like you and I do, and so the flats are not his favorite. But wow, he's moving fast right now. It's just extraordinary. I think he's really preparing well. I think he's going to be one
Yeah,
to watch. The X-Alps has always been, he's done very well, but for him, it's not very well. He'd like to, obviously he wants to win. He wants to be up there in the top in the podium, and he's had trouble striking that balance. But I think this year he could be very dangerous.
yeah, he has improved a lot.
Yeah,
I saw
and
him
he's
in
fearless.
215, 217, 219, and he has improved a lot of his different skills. So he's gonna be he's every race he's better.
Yeah. 2017 was marked by a lot of bad weather. I think it was the first time in the race that no one flew one day. I know Kriegel said that. In the first day, we all walked up to the Gaisberg, and it was so wet I ruined my phone. And we all walked off the Gaisberg and walked all day, which again for you and I is pretty hard to do. That was a hard day. And then it was earmarked by the second day. You had an unreal flight and showed what was possible flying in really strong firn. You and I have talked about this. I walked all night, which was a mistake, and then I was in that canyon to the south that you all, Kriegel took a different route there, but you launched on the north side, hopped over the spine of the Alps, and I watched gliders coming down that canyon, and I got on the phone with the safety officer saying, you better get a helicopter in here. Someone's going to crash. It was wicked dicey. Benoit went in the trees, and but some of you had an amazing day. And then at one point, I don't want to spoil 2017, but at one point you were leading the race, well into the race, down at the Garda turn point. You were out in front, and then sadly you had a hard landing. So, but the race course was longer than it had ever been, I believe, and hopped back and forth across the spine of the Alps more than it had ever had. It was a pretty exciting course. And then a lot of wind at the end. But anyway, that race was dictated by storms and thunderstorms and rain and gust fronts and quite a bit of wet weather.
Well, for me, this race, it was the perfect race for me. The first day was horrible because I couldn't run on the flats, so I ended. I was the last one on at the end of the first day. I was pointing at the last position, and it was kind of scary. But I knew that a lot of people were making a mistake because I knew that we would have a north wind, and when you have some north wind, it's always better to be before the spine than after the spine. I mean, because the fun is always stronger when he comes down after the up. So I knew that if I could fly, the north wind would help me to come back, and I knew that you could not. I mean, you could probably not take off on the south side because of this downwind coming down. So actually taking off on the north side was really calm and sweet. We had really tiny conditions on the north side, and the idea was to take as much altitude as I could, so that when you jump over the spine, you survive the wave going down. And I knew that 50 k's from the spine, maybe I could find some normal conditions. So I had to survive those 50 k's of downwind, and it worked. It worked. I mean, luckily, it worked perfectly, and I had this incredible flight almost to the turn point of Mangart. So it was incredible. It was an incredible way to begin the race, to start from last to second, and and after that I was into the race, and I had luckily I had this chance that every day was flyable, so I could play the game, because if it's with my knee I couldn't, with rainy day I cannot really play anything. So with good flyable conditions, I could play the game and the day, and like this, I could reach Kriegel bit by bit. But I reached Kriegel because he was not on the really good timing, and I was on a good timing.
Coming
And
into Garda.
yeah, and I reached Kriegel, but I reached Kriegel getting tired. So that explained maybe part of probably the fact that I got injured. I have never been as good as Kriegel, and I will probably never be as good as he is. But it was fun what I realized in 2017 is that I understood the way he played, the way he thinks, the way he reads the forecast, and I understood. I could feel things, and this was really interesting. And the main difference between 215 and 217 is that I could understand the timing. Is that at the beginning of the day, I could tell my crew at 2:15 I will be there. At 3 o'clock I'll be there. At 5 o'clock I will be there. I could plan the day, and I could and this changed really a lot of things, because when you can plan the time when you will be landing and where you will be landing, then you can. It's easy to it's better. It's easy to go faster, because if
How did you do that? How were you able to map it so well in your mind? How it would happen?
Well, 215 helped me a lot, and then after that, when you fly a lot, which was the case in 215, I really flew a lot. I also competed to the International World Cup in Brazil, and so I really flew a lot on different style. So I was really confident of what I could do, and I was able to say I can fly 30k per hour, 25k per hour today, and I think I can reach here. I will land over there, and then I can hike this pass, and I will take off over there. So I could plan my day, and this was the main difference, and this is why it worked pretty well. But I have to say that the end of this race was really tricky, and the bad weather was horrible. The terrain, I mean, the Italian side of the end of this race was horrible, and I have to say that if I didn't break my wrist, I could never win the race, because the end of the race was too tricky, not as flyable as I needed to be to win or to keep going with Kriegel. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That was totally. I mean, just to remind everybody listening, what was unusual about that race is what typically happens is the leaders are often, which is Kriegel, will get out in front of the bad weather and will have better weather than those in the back. And in this case, I was in the back early, and because of that terrible mistake early on, and then the weather for the leaders actually got worse. Going through Garda and all that, it was still pretty good, but once they got up to kind of the Matterhorn, the wind was on the prognosis was purple, which you don't very see that often, and it was you had to walk, and they were doing a lot of walking, and that was where Kriegel famously got blown out of the mountains going 100k an hour and had to land out in the Italian flats and go around the airspace, and he talks about only making 18k or something that day, and still won, but it was pretty brutal at the end. And where for us coming into Garda then and making the turn and heading west was actually really flyable. It was really nice and good conditions, and so you could close the gap. You weren't going to catch anybody, but you could close the gap, which was nice. It didn't happen that often.
But people must understand though that during those races we keep flying, landing, and flying, landing. And when Kriegel does that, he flies, he makes a perfect landing, then he takes off perfectly, and then he flies again. When I do that, I fly, then I literally crash, then I hike up, and then I take off as I can, and then I crash again, and then so at the end of the day, it's hard for me not to get totally destroyed. You see, it's not a perfect Kriegel, and I mean Kriegel, but you can also say Patrick von Kennel, for example. Those guys, they control whatever they do. It's beautiful to watch.
Yes.
If you could see us at the back, it's not the same. We're not that precise on our
Yeah, my highlight reel in the 2021 race was just a series of crashes. I basically just crashed my way all the way across the Alps, and I thought at the end, looking back at it, I thought, it's a good thing I'm a wombat because that's unacceptable. This was not pretty at all. I just kept crashing. I started doing the whole from watching those guys' videos of their whole upwind, downwind, uphill landings. I started seeing and Maxime doing that and Annecy. Oh, I really need to start practicing that. And thank God the first 50 I did was in the snow because they weren't landings. They were just crashes. And then I started to try to deploy those in the X-Alps. This is
But I mean, I can do that when the conditions are okay, but most
Yes.
of the time I land on the
They're
lee
not okay.
side, and the wind is going downwind super strong, and I want to land on the rocky, and I know I have to land it here because if not, the race is over. So I have to land it right there, and it's rocky, and the wind is totally strong, and it's not landable, but I have to do it. So I literally crash, and I'm not precise enough, and with the when you're tired, I mean, you're not as accurate as when you are
Sure.
fully recovered.
How did you break your wrist? What happened?
Well, that's strange because it wasn't on a crash. It was on a really easy landing. For this is always what happens when you have an accident. It's always on the easy stuff. But I was landing on a small hill because I wanted to hike up just a little bit. And on this hill, you had a small road and a house with a little brick wall, like a 1 meter wall between the garden of the house and the road. And I was landing really smoothly, and just at the moment I would probably put my feet on the ground, a huge thermal blew this hill, and it took my left side of the wing, and it just like a bubble, like I don't know how to call that in English, but like a strong little bomb, and it's just made me fly a little bit, and I swung onto the wall, but really smoothly. But the wall is kind of strong, and and I broke my wrist
It's a
just
wall.
like this. Yeah.
Well,
So
I
it was
imagine
stupid.
that was the low point of the race, or not? Was there something else that was lower?
Well, it was a low point. No, I had a low point the day before. It was really strange. I got stuck onto a hill because of the breeze. When I was leading the race for about 5 minutes, maybe, I took a different option. Kriegel took right and I took left, and my option didn't work. And I didn't. I should have landed and start. I mean, and to go up, and because we had a great inversion, so you had to fly really high, and I should have learned to keep high, but I wanted to fight a little more, and I got stuck on a hill inside the breeze, so it was impossible to go up again because of the wind blowing everything, and I stayed there for probably 2 or 3 hours trying to pinch this breeze. And it didn't work for the whole day, so this was probably more annoying than the next day. And the next day, well, it was for sure not really fun. But the first thing I told myself is, okay, man, it's just a wrist. It's not a back, or it's not a big deal. So just okay, keep calm, and it's okay.
Yeah. Well, what a race. Did we? I can't remember. Did we? Was your highlight the day getting down to Titlis that second day, or was there something else that we missed? A real high point from the race?
No, the high points of the race, and it's the high point of all the X-Alps for me. It's a marvelous flight from Lermos to from Chiemsee to Lermos. and it was a fight against west wind, so against the wind, and it was really technical. So it was probably my best flight ever, technically. And I could reach Lermos at the end of the day with all my friends, all my family, and it was like the sunset going. I mean, it was a perfect day, and I remember it. I will probably remember it for all my life, because it had everything. The fly against the wind, the good vibes with the team, the turn point at the end, the fact that we were going into the timing to reach Kriegel, so we had everything. It was incredible.
This was okay. Now I'm starting to remember this. You were in the air. Was that the year you were in the air with Willie? Or is that 2019? I'm getting no, that was 2019. Okay, we'll come to that, because you made a move in 2019.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's 2019.
That was unbelievable. That was you approached Lermoos from the south, and yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so yeah, you're in second place, break your wrist, and you were fighting at the front, man. We were all, that was, I think the whole world let out a sigh of, oh no, that day in 2017. You were having an amazing race. And then, okay, so let's jump to 2019. 2019 was, again,
weak. Was weak.
Yes, I know. Your one of your lowlights is going to be your wing choice. I remember that,
Yeah.
but it was it was 2019 was incredibly stable and hot at the end. Unbelievable. We of course had the, oh my gosh, the Engelberg turn point. The only one that Kriegel top, he was the only one that top landed, and you hugged the sign. That was a highlight. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And sorry, before I said Titlis, before I met Triglav, but yeah, so the Titlis turn point was incredible. And the middle of the beginning of the race was great weather. The middle of the race had lots of shade and not many thermals, but we had no fern in that race. We had no wind, and it was by far the easiest conditions I had raced in all my X-Alps campaign, especially compared to 2021. But it was, you could just go up anywhere and launch, and it wasn't very, I would say 2019 was not very dangerous, and it had some, but it had this obscenely hot, and God, that was miserable, where you'd hike 2,000 meters and it would be the exact same temperature at the top as it was in the valley bottom, and there just wasn't a burp of a thermal unless you got really tall. That was when people landed on top of Mont Blanc, when that was going down. And I recall a couple of your flights being just absurdly awesome. Down through the Maritimes, you had a really good one with Manuel. You guys had a really good day together, and then we just had him on the show, and he talked about that being very special. You had an amazing one, I don't believe you were much up in the front. You were kind of in the back early.
I was in the back. Oh, yes.
Incredible flight, and you went from the back to third going into Lermoos. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Well, on this edition, it was really hard for me, because I'm probably not the best pilot when it's really weak, and I had a wing that was really small, so it was hard to keep up at the beginning, and I probably made mistakes too. So at the beginning, I was really at the back, and fortunately, we had 2 good days. One really good day for me from Kitzbühel near Lermos, near Chiemsee. We had to go back to the Dolomites, and then back up to Lermos, and I was in the good timing to try another option on the west side of the. I mean, you had two options, either on the east side, and so it was an option really good for the morning. And you had this option crossing the Otsal mountains on the west. And since I was really at the back, I like to try other stuff, and it was the perfect timing to try it. So And I
And
remember I was with your friend, with the American
Willie.
Willie, and I told him, "Come on, let's go," and he didn't want to
He
come.
didn't, and he got stuck there for 2 days. That was the end of his race in some ways. He got shin splints. And I said, "Wait, you were with Gaspard and you left him, you idiot." But, just to paint the listener a picture. So when I was in pretty good position that day, we'd gotten to Kimsey the night before. I was with Paul and a bunch of the guys. We flew. We had a beautiful day to get over the spine of the Alps and top landed Kronplatz. I was on the ground for less than 5 minutes. Relaunched, was heading north up to Meiringen. So I took the traditional route. So that's east of Innsbruck, or sorry, Interlaken. No, sorry, Innsbruck.
Innsbruck,
And as I was heading north, and you all were still heading south, the sky was big. I mean, really big, huge. I mean, lightning, thunder, rain, to our east. I mean, it looked really pretty scary. And that's when you were heading the wrong way. I mean, we were going kind of in a sense away from it, although it started getting big everywhere. They were getting it up in Lermoos, and that, so that to do what you did took some cojones. I'm just in terms of weather. I mean, just in terms, but you were, I guess, heading west, which was okay.
No, because I landed I was just on the just before the storms. I landed in Kronplatz, and in the Dolomites it was all dark, and then I could take off again, and on the west side I could see that the cloud base was really high, and it wasn't that really dangerous. I mean, it was not going into storm, so that's why I chose to go west. And I knew that to cross west, I needed 4,000 cloud base, so I needed to cross over the glaciers. So I needed a lot of. So it was like a gamble, but it was worth the try. And I had worked a lot on maps and of all the Innsbruck area, which is really tricky with the airspaces, and I knew that I had a way to do it on the west, and it was yes, and I remember I was on the terminal with Will, and I said, okay, that's it, let's try it, let's go. That's one of my favorite pilots in the X-Alps, one of my my mentor, I would say, or my the best pilot I've ever seen on X-Alps is not probably Kriegel. The one I like the most is Martin Müller, which is a Swiss pilot. And what I like with Martin is that he always tries stuff, and even sometimes he wastes a lot of time, but he tries, and that's what I told myself. Let's do it. Let's do something else. And it was really fun to try this, and I had a great time.
Yeah, so you took basically the beginning of the Ansel, well, the second leg of the Antholz FAI, where you fly down to Sturzing and up over the glaciers and into the Solden Valley, and then it's just a straight north run. And once you got there, it was fast, and man, you crunched some kilometers. And I looked at it afterwards, and it was quite a short way to go. You also, you didn't have to go all the way around the airspace and make the hard move over the Inn Valley, and it really made sense. And that is a route that we fly. It works, and it was, boy, that was beautiful. I mean, like you said, to make it over the glaciers, you had to have the base, but otherwise you would have gotten kind of stuck up there. But that was a neat move.
But then the next day was tricky because we had to do this turn point on the north side of what's the
Davos?
No, on Lermos, the turn point is the summit, the big summit of I don't remember the name, and you had to.
The Zugspitze.
The Zugspitze. I had to go north of it, so I had a technical via ferrata to climb and then a glide just to put a waypoint on the north side of the Zugspitze, and this was a tricky part. And
that's right. It wasn't just getting to Lermoos. You had to get around, and you were coming in from, in a sense, the wrong side then. But
exactly.
Yeah, but you got into third, so you're good at those. In 2017, you went from last to second, and then these big flights, which is really neat because one of my issues, I guess, with the X Alps since 2015 is that the distances between the waypoints, they've added a lot more waypoints, and the distances have gotten shorter, and so it takes away a lot of that ability to do the Martin Mueller. Nick Nanens is like
Exactly.
that too. He just goes into crazy places. Or what the hell is Nick
Yeah.
doing? And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's great. But you've proven that you can still, you can still make those kind of moves, which is really nice to see.
Well, that's fun. For me, I totally agree. I think the more waypoints you put, the less adventure you can try.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is, and you have to do the best with the rules. Um, but this 2019 race was great because it was a lot into the mountains. I remember Titlitz, climbing up to Titlitz was just beautiful. I mean, just nice for the eyes, and we had this beautiful summit over there. We slept in the restaurant at the top of Titlitz. So I have wonderful memories of high mountaineering. We also had one of my best moments sharing a glacier traverse with Tom Le Dorlodo, and I forgot his name, the German guy.
Manuel?
No, the other one.
Oh, the other one,
Um,
Lacher. Or no,
uh,
that wasn't his
I
year.
forgot. I didn't. Well, but we had a great time together, sharing I mean, all the crampons traverse over the glacier and finding a takeoff, and all this sharing aspect of the race is great. I mean, we've shared many days with Tom. I've shared beautiful flight with Manuel. Um, so 219 was more about sharing and having this, taking all the beauty of this race, the beauty of the landscapes, but the beauty of the friendship, the beauty of the flights. So I ended this race with big smile on my face, just having a great time of paragliding, and it was more than competing. And even at the end when we landed on the raft, we landed all the finishers together, and we had this moment on the raft, sharing and smiling, and it was really really a nice friendship experience, and that I will remember.
Your brother has been part of your team all three events, and he, like I said, a really good pilot. I'm curious, when you're flying, are you talking to him? Is he giving you? Are you on the phone together? Is he giving you? How much is in your own instinct and your own doing your own thing versus getting help from your brother?
So in 2015 he could fly with me, so we
Yeah.
flew part of it together. But he's always on the van, and he's really important because at the beginning of this recording, you said that I told you that I had made races before X-Alps, and we've made the races together. And the only rules we applied together was to always land together and to always do the whole race together, which is quite hard, but we were really good at it, flying as a team. And so I know he knows me perfectly, and I know him perfectly, and we can understand each other really well. So even if he's in the van and I have an idea, I can feel the way he answers me. I can feel if my idea is good or if it's stupid. And sometimes he calms me down because I'm a bit dynamic, too much dynamic, I would say. I'm a bit Speedy Gonzalez.
French. You're French.
And sometimes he calms me down. But yes, when I have an idea and he tells me, okay, I think it's a good idea, then it's for me, it's easier to go fully into my idea. It's easier for me to follow my ideas when I know that he confirms that that's a good idea. So maybe sometimes I probably
Nice
you can
synergy.
yeah, you probably experienced that you have an idea during the X-Alps and you you're not sure of yourself. So probably if a pilot cross your routes, you will probably follow him a bit because you're not quite sure. About with this asset on my team, I could be sure of what of my ideas and trust my ideas to the very end, and not follow other pilots.
The one theme for a lot of teams seems to be to have a mountain guide on the team. You are a mountain guide. How important is that aspect?
Well, I am a mountain guide, and one of my supporters is also one. It's important in a sense that I don't care about landing anywhere. I don't care about landing on a glacier. I'm not scared about it. So, and I know a bunch of huts, so I know that I can go up to that hut. It's also easier on the tactics because I know that I can land at the very end of the valley, and then my crew will come with the crampons, and we can cross with the crampons. So that helps a lot. And when we shared this crossing with the crampons with Thomas and I forgot his name. I called the race director to tell them that I am an Alpine guide, and I will take care. We will take care of the whole group, so I could also help the other guys to cross. This was nice for us.
Marcus Anders.
Marcus Anders, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marcus.
Yeah. Who kind of got injured at the end of the 2019 race. I don't believe we've done we're going to wrap things up here. I know you got a hard out, but we've talked a lot about the good sides of 2019. You had an amazing race. Was there a down?
Yes,
moment?
I was, I had kind of a nervous breakdown at the middle of the race. When, I made some bad choice in the middle of the race before Chamonix, and people were coming back, and, I was in too much maybe into competing at that time, and I was not really nice. I'm not nice enough with my team. I was a bit of an asshole, maybe I could say, at that time. So that was really not the best moment of this race. Fortunately, just after that, we calmed down and we focused about what was important in the race, and things went much better. But I had this major breakdown, maybe a lot of I was really tired, and I had a lot. It was the first time that many of my plans were not working as I expected, because I'm really used to fly in the Alps, so I'm really used to fly in big conditions, in strong conditions. And this year, nothing would work. I mean, it was weak everywhere, even at high altitude. So none of my plan would work the way I would plan them, and I had this huge breakdown in the middle of the race. Unfortunately, because thanks to my team and my mom was there too, my sister, my brother, they all helped me a lot to stay confident and come back to end this race properly.
Yeah, and that must have worked really well, because I remember watching on live tracking. I was walking in some miserable heat somewhere. I had a pretty hard day getting into Chamonix, and you were having an epic flight on the east side from Chamonix down to Saint Hilaire, where you spanked a lot of people in front of you. You made a nice move there. That must have been amazing.
It was a nice gamble again in the middle of the mountains rather than in the Pre-Alps. Another gamble. It didn't work as well as I thought, but it worked a little bit.
Yeah, well, you were able to stay high. That was the key. And you kind of pieced it all together. Okay, final question, because I know you got to go. How hard was it, and what can you teach me about not doing it in 2021? Well, did you watch every second, or did you just totally ignore it?
To be honest, normally after 2017, I wanted to stop and I came back in 2019 because of my injury on 2017. So it was already like an extra edition for me, and it was clear that I had to stop, and I wanted to stop in 2019 because it was hard for the family and it was a lot of commitment. So when we stopped in 2019, it was clear, and I wanted to try some other stuff too. So it was easy at the beginning, but for my supporter, it wasn't that easy because I could my supporter would just put my computer on the right page at the right moment, just to be sure I wouldn't miss the apply on summer, at the end of the summer. But it was clear for me that I had to stop, and I had a great time watching the race on the screen 2 years ago. 2 years ago now, and I also helped a lot of people on the phone when they came back to France. I was I was following Maxime and Laurie and many French pilots and congratulate them. I mean, it was not my time anymore, and I'm really proud to see that those guys are super strong and they're doing super well. So it's normal for me to move on and to do other things. I mean, the younglings are strong enough to, and they will probably win and beat Krugel, hopefully. At last.
I remember you telling me in 2019, which I think was Maxime's first year, that you really thought Maxime was the biggest threat. Who is it? I'm putting you on the spot here, but who do you think is the biggest threat? We saw Maxime gave him a hell of a run for his money, but Kriegel still just slaughtered it at the end. That was an incredible move.
Yeah, last year for me, I don't think Kriegel was far ahead. Kriegel had a lot of luck last year. And Maxime could have beat him easily. He beated him several days in a row. So I think if Maxime stays strong in his head, that's his main. That's the main issue. If it stays strong, I think he flies better. I mean, I think he can beat him. But I mean, there are plenty of great pilots on the list, so it's gonna be fun to watch. But for sure, when I see old guys just that were fighting with me in 2015, 2017, and 2019, I just tell myself, that would be nice to share the race together. But that's it. We have to change. We have to do other things.
I agreed. Gaspard, what a delight. It was great connecting with you, and we miss you, buddy. But love what you're doing with your family, and I hope to grab some thermals with you here someday. But thanks a lot. Appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can travel and see you and see your little girl. Well, how old is she? 2 years?
5. She's 5.5.
5 years. Wow.
I know, man.
Okay.
As you know, it goes fast.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully we can meet.
That'd be great. See you soon.
If you find the Cloud-Based Mayhem valuable, you can support it in a lot of different ways. You can give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or however you get your podcast. That goes a long ways and helps spread the word. You can blog about it on your own website or share it on social media. You can talk about it on the way up to launch with your pilot friends. I know a lot of interesting conversations have happened that way. And of course, you can support us financially. This show does take a lot of time, a lot of editing, a lot of storage and music and all kinds of behind the scenes cost. So if you can support us financially, all we've ever asked for is $1 a show. And you can do that through a one-time donation through PayPal, or you can set up a subscription service that charges you for each show that comes out. We put a new show out every 2 weeks. So, for example, if you did $1 a show and every 2 weeks, it'd be about $25 a year. So way cheaper than a magazine subscription, and it makes all of this possible. I do not want to fund this show with advertising or sponsors. We get asked about that pretty frequently, but for a whole bunch of different reasons, which I've said many times on the show, I don't want to do that. I don't like having that stuff at the front of the show. And I also want you to know that these are authentic conversations with real people, and these are just our opinions, but our opinions are not being skewed by sponsors or advertising dollars. I think that's a pretty toxic business model. So I hope you dig that. You can support us. If you go to cloudbasedmayhem.com, you can find the places to support. You can do it through patreon.com/cloudbasedmayhem. If you want a recurring subscription, you can also do that directly through the website. We've tried to make it really easy, and that will give you access to all the bonus material, little video casts that we do, and extra little nuggets that we find in conversations that don't make it into the main show, but we feel like you should hear. We don't put any of that behind a paywall. If you can't afford to support us, then just let me know and I'll set you up with an account. Of course, that'll be lifetime, and hopefully you'll be in a position someday to be able to support us. But you'll find all that on the website. All of you who have supported us or even joined our newsletter or bought Cloud-Based Mayhem merchandise, t-shirts or hats or anything, you should be all set up. You should have an account, and you should be able to access all that bonus material now. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you.